On July 11, 2025, a Chinese AI startup did something the industry said wouldn't happen this year. Moonshot AI released Kimi K3, a 2.8 trillion parameter model that immediately claimed the #1 position on Chatbot Arena's front-end code benchmark, beating Anthropic's Fable 5 and OpenAI's GPT 5.6 Sol. Not a closed API product locked behind enterprise pricing. An open weight model, the largest ever built, and the full weights drop publicly on July 27th. This isn't just another model announcement. This is a structural shift in who gets to build at the frontier. Let's be precise about what we're looking at. Kimi K3 is a sparse mixture of experts model, meaning while it contains 2.8 trillion total parameters, only a fraction activate for any given input. This is how you build something this massive without requiring an entire data center for every query. It supports a 1 million token context window, roughly 750,000 words processed in a single pass. For reference, that's approximately 10 full-length novels. The model is already live via API through Moonshot's platform. But the real story begins July 27th, when the full model weights become publicly available for download. Moonshot AI was founded in 2023 by Yang Zhilin, a Carnegie Mellon-trained researcher who previously co-founded Dark Side of the Moon before rebranding. The company raised over $1 billion in funding, backed by Alibaba and Sequoia China, among others. Their earlier model, Kimi K2, released in the spring of 2025, was itself a 1 trillion parameter MOE model that turned heads on coding benchmarks. K3 nearly triples that parameter count. Yang has been explicit about the company's philosophy that open models accelerate the entire ecosystem and that openness is a competitive strategy, not charity. The numbers demand scrutiny. On Front-End Code Arena, which tests models on real-world web development tasks judged by human preference, K3 ranks first as of mid-July 2025. It outperforms GPT 5.6 Sol, Anthropic's Fable 5, and Google's latest Gemini offerings on this specific benchmark. According to Moonshot's published technical report, K3 also shows strong performance on SWE Bench Verified and standard coding evaluations. Independent verification is still early. The model has been live via API for days, not weeks, and the open source community hasn't yet run exhaustive third-party benchmarks. But early independent testers on social media are largely corroborating the claimed performance range. Here's the context that matters. Until now, frontier-class models have been closed. GPT-5, Claude's latest releases, Gemini, all API only. You pay per token. You don't see the weights. You can't modify the model. You can't run it on your own infrastructure. Meta's Llama series pushed open weights into the mainstream, but topped out around 405 billion dense parameters. DeepSeek opened impressive MOE models, but faced geopolitical headwinds. K3 at 2.8 trillion parameters represents a new ceiling for open-weight AI. If the weights perform as advertised once released, any organization with sufficient compute can run, modify, and build on a model competitive with the best closed systems on Earth. Practical implications. Once weights land July 27th, 3 categories of use open up immediately. First, self-hosting. Organizations handling sensitive data, government contractors, healthcare companies, anyone who can't send proprietary information to external APIs gets a frontier model behind their own firewall. Second, fine-tuning. The open weights mean you can specialize K3 for specific domains. Legal document analysis across that million-token context window. Codebase-wide refactoring. Financial modeling with entire quarterly filings loaded in a single prompt. Third, agentic coding pipelines. K3's coding performance makes it a candidate for autonomous software engineering agents that plan, write, test, and debug code with minimal human oversight, a necessary dose of realism. Running 2.8 trillion parameters, even sparse, isn't something you do on a gaming PC. Estimates suggest full precision inference will require multiple high-end GPU nodes. Quantized versions will likely emerge quickly from the open-source community, as they did with Llama and DeepSeek, bringing requirements down substantially. But fine-tuning at full scale will remain expensive, likely requiring hundreds of GPUs. The practical beneficiaries in the near term are well-funded startups, research labs, and enterprise teams, not individual developers running local setups. That gap will narrow as quantization and distillation techniques improve, but it's honest to name it now. This release doesn't happen in a vacuum. US export controls on advanced chips to China have been tightening since October 2022, explicitly designed to slow Chinese AI development. Moonshot, releasing the world's largest open-weight model, trained presumably on hardware acquired before or around those restrictions, is a statement. It signals that compute constraints haven't prevented Chinese labs from reaching the frontier. The open-weight release also creates a proliferation dynamic that export controls can't easily address. Once weights are public, they're global. Every lab, every nation, every actor with sufficient hardware can deploy them. This has genuine national security implications that policymakers are only beginning to grapple with. July 27th is the date to watch. When weights drop, expect the open-source community to move fast. Quantized versions within days, specialized fine-tunes within weeks, and rigorous independent benchmarks that will either confirm or challenge Moonshot's claims. The competitive response from OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google will also be telling. If K3 genuinely matches or exceeds their closed models, the pressure to open their own weights or dramatically cut API pricing becomes immense. The moat, if there ever was one, is eroding. The frontier of AI is no longer a gated community. As of July 2025, the largest model ever built with open weights is a fact. What the world builds with it is the next chapter.